In the early 1970s, a seemingly innocent gift led to a series of unnerving incidents that would become one of the most famous haunted doll stories in history. The tale begins with a young nurse named Donna who received a vintage rag doll as a gift from her mother. It seemed like a charming, if somewhat old-fashioned, addition to her apartment. Soon after receiving the doll, Donna and her roommate Angie began to notice unsettling occurrences. At first, it was small things. Objects in the apartment would be moved from their places, even though they were certain they had left them elsewhere. Then the doll itself began to display odd behaviors. It seemed to change positions on its own, appearing in different rooms even though Donna and Angie were certain they hadn't moved it. One evening, the situation escalated when the two women found a handwritten note in the doll's lap. The note, scrawled in a childish handwriting, read, "Help me. I'm stuck." The note was not only strange but also alarming, given that neither Donna nor Angie had ever seen it before. As the occurrences continued, the doll's presence seemed to grow more malevolent. One night, Donna woke to find the doll's arm outstretched towards her, as though reaching out to grab her. The final straw came when both women experienced vivid, frightening dreams of the doll attacking them. Desperate for answers, Donna and Angie reached out to a medium who claimed the doll was possessed by a spirit. The medium advised them to get rid of the doll immediately and suggested that it was holding on to a spirit that could not find peace. Donna and Angie, now thoroughly spooked, complied and contacted a local priest for help. The priest performed a blessing, and the doll was soon taken away. But the story didn't end there. The doll was eventually given to Ed and Lorraine Warren, famous paranormal investigators. The Warrens studied the doll and confirmed that it was indeed haunted. They placed it in a glass case in their occult museum, where it remains today as a warning to others about the dangers of dealing with malevolent spirits. Visitors to the museum have reported feeling uneasy in its presence, and the doll continues to be a source of fascination and fear. Ed Warren once said that the doll is not simply an object of curiosity but a tangible link to something far more sinister. Even though it is now behind glass, some believe that the malevolent energy it once contained still lingers, a chilling reminder of the unknown forces that might be lurking just out of sight. After the doll was safely enshrined in the Warrens' occult museum, its legend grew as word spread about its unsettling history. Visitors from all over the world came to see it, many driven by morbid curiosity or a fascination with the supernatural. The doll's glass case was carefully maintained, with a warning sign that read, "Positively do not touch." One fateful day, a young couple named Tom and Lisa visited the museum. They were both skeptics, intrigued by the doll's story but dismissive of its claims. As they approached the display, Lisa noticed an old, faded photograph of the doll's original owner, a little girl who looked eerily similar to a girl Lisa had seen in a dream just days before. Dismissing it as coincidence, they continued their tour. As they left the museum, Tom and Lisa felt a strange chill in the air. That night, they returned to their hotel, only to find their room in disarray. Items were scattered, and the temperature seemed to have dropped significantly. They brushed it off as a result of the poorly maintained hotel. But that night, Lisa had a series of disturbing dreams. In her dream, she found herself in a small, dimly lit room with the Annabelle doll sitting in a corner. The doll's eyes seemed to follow her every move, and in the dream, it began to slowly and deliberately reach out towards her. Lisa woke up in a panic, drenched in sweat, and found that her arm was bruised as though something had gripped it tightly. Tom, now concerned, tried to reassure Lisa, but he too began to experience unsettling phenomena. He would hear faint whispers in the middle of the night, and sometimes objects in their room would move on their own. Determined to get to the bottom of it, Tom decided to conduct some research into the doll's history. He discovered that the little girl in the photograph was not just any child but the daughter of a wealthy family who had experienced a series of tragedies. The girl's death had been shrouded in mystery, and some believed that her spirit had been attached to the doll. Tom's research led him to a local historian who revealed that the girl's family had been involved in occult practices, trying to communicate with the dead. It was believed that the girl's spirit might have been inadvertently attached to the doll during one of these sessions. Realizing the gravity of their situation, Tom and Lisa sought the help of a spiritual advisor. The advisor performed a cleansing ritual, and after several intense sessions, the disturbances seemed to diminish. However, the experience left Tom and Lisa profoundly changed. They returned home, but the chilling encounter stayed with them. They began to experience an uncanny sense of being watched and would often find their belongings moved or misplaced. It seemed that whatever presence had attached itself to them was not easily dismissed. Years later, Tom and Lisa would recount their story to friends and family, always with a note of caution. They warned others about the dangers of dismissing supernatural warnings and the importance of respecting the unknown. The Annabelle doll, still encased in its glass prison, continued to be a dark symbol of the unknown, a reminder of the unsettling reality that some things are better left unexplored. As the years went by, the Annabelle doll's story became a well-known legend, its eerie reputation attracting more visitors to the Warrens' Occult Museum. Among these visitors was a renowned paranormal investigator named Sarah Collins, whose skepticism matched that of Tom and Lisa before their harrowing experience. Sarah had a reputation for debunking supernatural claims with scientific methods, and she saw the Annabelle doll as the ultimate challenge. One crisp autumn afternoon, Sarah arrived at the museum with her team. They were equipped with state-of-the-art equipment, electromagnetic field detectors, infrared cameras, and audio recorders. Sarah was determined to uncover any rational explanations for the doll's infamous reputation. As Sarah and her team set up their equipment around the glass case, Lorraine Warren, now in her later years, observed them with a somber expression. She offered Sarah a warning. "The doll has a way of making its presence known. It's not something you should take lightly." Sarah dismissed the warning as superstition and began her investigation. Hours passed with no significant findings. The doll remained motionless, its glass case untouched. The team was about to pack up when Sarah, feeling a mix of frustration and defiance, decided to confront the doll directly. She tapped on the glass and said, "If you're really haunted, show us something. Prove your existence." That night, Sarah's team left the museum, feeling disappointed. But as they drove away, an unsettling feeling lingered in the air. Sarah couldn't shake the sense of being watched. A few days later, Sarah began experiencing strange occurrences at home. She would find her equipment tampered with, her recordings inexplicably erased, and her electrical devices malfunctioning. Sarah's once rational world was being disturbed by phenomena she couldn't explain. Desperate for answers, Sarah reviewed the footage from the night of her visit to the museum. To her horror, she saw something that defied rational explanation. The Annabelle doll's eyes seemed to move. In one frame, the doll was looking straight ahead, but in the next, its gaze appeared to shift towards the camera, as though acknowledging Sarah's challenge. As Sarah's encounters grew more disturbing, she sought the help of a psychic medium known for her sensitivity to supernatural entities. The medium conducted a séance and revealed that the doll was not merely haunted. It was a conduit for a particularly vengeful spirit. According to the medium, the spirit was once a dark practitioner of the occult, whose malevolent energy had attached itself to the doll. The spirit's goal was not only to cause fear but to ensnare those who dared to challenge its power. Determined to put an end to the disturbances, Sarah and her team arranged for a more extensive exorcism ritual, performed by a renowned priest. The ritual involved cleansing the doll's surroundings with holy water and invoking protective wards to seal any lingering malevolent energies. The exorcism was intense and dramatic. As the priest chanted and invoked sacred rites, the temperature in the room dropped precipitously. Strange noises filled the air, and the glass case rattled as if trying to break free. After hours of tense ritual, the priest declared the exorcism complete. The museum staff felt a profound sense of relief, believing that the doll's presence had been neutralized. But the relief was short-lived. Reports began to surface from other paranormal enthusiasts who had visited the museum after Sarah's investigation. They claimed to experience chilling encounters with a dark presence, suggesting that while the exorcism had alleviated some of the doll's influence, it had not completely eradicated it. Sarah, forever changed by her experience, published a book detailing her investigation and the disturbing events that followed. The book was a bestseller, and Sarah's story served as a chilling reminder that some entities, especially those tied to dark practices, might never be fully understood or contained. The Annabelle doll remained under close watch in the museum, still a focal point of supernatural intrigue. Its case was fortified, and strict rules were enforced to ensure that no one challenged the doll's malevolent presence again. The doll's story, now enriched with Sarah's chilling encounter, continued to captivate and terrify those who dared to learn about it, reinforcing the idea that some mysteries are best left untouched. Months after the high-profile exorcism of the Annabelle doll, the museum's staff thought they had managed to contain the doll's dark influence. However, a series of unsettling events unfolded that suggested the doll's malevolent energy might have found new ways to manifest. One evening, a new curator named Emily Johnson joined the museum team. Emily was enthusiastic about her role and eager to contribute to the museum's work, though she had heard whispers about the Annabelle doll. Initially dismissive of the stories, Emily was determined to focus on her duties and make a mark in her new position. On her first night in charge of the museum's night shift, Emily decided to conduct a thorough inventory of the artifacts, including the infamous doll. The museum was quiet, and the only sounds were the occasional creaks of the old building. As Emily approached the doll's display, she noticed something peculiar: a faint, almost imperceptible glow emanating from behind the glass. Curious but cautious, Emily examined the doll more closely. The glow seemed to pulse gently, creating a rhythmic pattern that was almost hypnotic. Despite the museum's protocols, Emily felt an inexplicable urge to get closer. As she leaned in to inspect the doll, a sudden, chilling draft swept through the room. The temperature dropped noticeably, and Emily's breath formed visible clouds in the cold air. She shivered and took a step back, but before she could react, the lights flickered and went out, plunging the room into darkness. Panicking, Emily fumbled for her flashlight and shone its beam on the doll. To her shock, she saw that the doll's eyes seemed to glow with an unnatural light. The pulse of the light intensified, and Emily felt an overwhelming sense of dread. Her heartbeat quickened, and she could hear her own breaths growing shallow. Then the flashlight flickered and went out. Emily was left in near-total darkness, the only light coming from the faint, eerie glow of the doll's eyes. As she tried to calm herself, she heard a faint whisper, almost too soft to be heard, but unmistakable. "You're not supposed to be here." Determined to remain professional, Emily managed to restore the power and the lights flickered back on. She took a deep breath and decided to leave the doll's area, but as she turned, she noticed something chilling. The doll's glass case had fogged up, and in the condensation were the words, "Help me," scrawled in a childish handwriting. Frightened but resolved, Emily decided to confide in her colleagues. They were skeptical but agreed to review the security footage. To their horror, the footage showed something inexplicable: the doll's eyes shifting and moving as if following Emily, and strange shadows flitting across the screen. They also observed that the room's temperature dropped suddenly, even though the museum's heating system was functioning properly. The museum's director, deeply concerned by these new developments, contacted a renowned exorcist with a reputation for dealing with particularly stubborn entities. The exorcist, Father Michael, arrived and conducted a series of rituals to reassess the doll's containment. During the ritual, he sensed a powerful and defiant spirit that resisted the purification attempts. Father Michael's expression grew grave as he admitted that while the doll's influence seemed to have diminished, it was far from vanquished. The exorcism uncovered a startling revelation. The spirit bound to the doll was not a single entity, but a collective consciousness of malevolent spirits that had merged over time. This amalgamation made the doll not just a vessel but a gateway, and each exorcism merely pushed the spirits back rather than expelling them entirely. Determined to prevent further incidents, the museum staff, led by Emily, implemented strict new protocols. They added extra layers of security around the doll, including motion sensors, temperature monitors, and additional protective wards. The doll's display was reinforced, and its surroundings were regularly blessed. Despite these efforts, strange occurrences continued to plague the museum. Staff members reported feeling watched, and some claimed to have seen fleeting shadows and heard disembodied whispers. The doll remained a dark enigma, a reminder of the chilling reality that some supernatural forces may never be fully understood or controlled. Emily, now seasoned by her experiences, became a key figure in managing the museum's more haunted exhibits. Her encounter with the Annabelle doll had transformed her from a skeptic into a vigilant guardian of the supernatural. The legend of Annabelle continued to grow, becoming a subject of fascination and fear for those intrigued by the paranormal. The doll, ever contained but never truly subdued, stood as a dark symbol of the unknown, a stark reminder of the forces that lurk beyond our understanding, waiting for the opportunity to reveal themselves. As the months passed, the Annabelle doll's story continued to captivate and disturb. The museum became a focal point for supernatural enthusiasts and investigators from all over the world. Despite the enhanced security measures, the atmosphere around the doll remained tense, with staff and visitors alike reporting strange sensations and disturbances. One particular evening, a prominent paranormal researcher named Dr. Evelyn Shaw visited the museum. Dr. Shaw was known for her rigorous investigations and skepticism, but she was deeply intrigued by the Annabelle doll's reputation. She arrived with her own team of experts, including a historian and a psychic medium, determined to uncover any hidden truths. Dr. Shaw and her team spent several hours conducting experiments and analyzing data. They utilized a combination of high-tech equipment and traditional methods to probe the doll's presence. The museum staff, including Emily, watched nervously as Dr. Shaw's team worked diligently. As night fell, the team set up a series of sensors and cameras around the doll's display. They performed an EVP, electronic voice phenomena, session, asking the doll questions and capturing the responses on their audio recorders. The responses were faint and cryptic, but one message stood out clearly: "The door is open." Dr. Shaw was intrigued but remained skeptical. She reviewed the footage and audio recordings with her team, searching for rational explanations. The historian, intrigued by the phrase, decided to delve into the doll's origins further. He discovered that the phrase "the door is open" had been used in ancient texts referring to rituals intended to summon or communicate with otherworldly entities. This led the team to speculate that the Annabelle doll might be a part of something much larger and older than they had initially thought. That night, Dr. Shaw's psychic medium, Jane, felt an intense energy shift as she entered the museum's library, where the occult texts were stored. She felt a presence guiding her toward a hidden compartment behind a bookcase. With the historian's help, they discovered a long-forgotten journal, its cover worn and faded. The journal belonged to an occultist from the early 1900s, detailing rituals and practices associated with the doll. The entries were chilling, describing how the doll was used as a conduit to communicate with various entities, and how the occultist believed that it could open doorways to other realms. The final entries revealed that the doll had been intended to house a powerful spirit, one capable of bridging dimensions. Dr. Shaw and her team were both fascinated and alarmed. They realized that the doll was not just haunted but possibly a tool used for dark rituals, meant to connect with entities from beyond. The implications were staggering. The Annabelle doll could be a gateway to something far more sinister than anyone had imagined. Determined to address the potential threat, Dr. Shaw arranged for an advanced ritual of containment and protection. This involved a team of experts from various fields, including mystics and engineers, to create a multi-layered barrier around the doll. The ritual was extensive, combining ancient protective rites with modern technology to create a shield against any potential breaches. As the ritual progressed, strange occurrences intensified. The temperature in the museum dropped significantly, and a low, almost imperceptible hum filled the air. The team's equipment malfunctioned, and they captured strange, shadowy figures on their cameras. Despite these disturbances, the ritual was completed, and the doll's display was reinforced with additional wards and barriers. However, even with these precautions, the presence of the doll remained unsettling. Dr. Shaw's team continued to experience phenomena related to the doll, though nothing as extreme as before. The museum staff and visitors reported a lingering sense of unease, as if the doll's influence persisted despite the containment efforts. Emily, now an experienced and cautious curator, took on the responsibility of overseeing the museum's most sensitive artifacts. She worked closely with Dr. Shaw and her team, ensuring that the Annabelle doll's display was maintained with the highest level of security. The doll remained a focal point of the museum, its story growing more complex with each passing year. The legend of Annabelle became a dark tale of caution and mystery, a reminder of the powerful forces that might be hidden in plain sight. It served as a chilling warning that some entities, once awakened, might never be fully understood or controlled, their influence weaving through the fabric of reality in ways that defy explanation. In the end, the Annabelle doll stood as a symbol of the unknown, its legacy a haunting testament to the mysteries that lurk at the edges of human understanding.